Have you ever stopped and asked yourself this question? Why am I still here? When you wake up and the room feels too quiet, when the people you loved are gone, when your hands have grown weaker and your steps slower, have you ever wondered why God has allowed you to live this long? It's easy to think it's just luck, or maybe medicine, or maybe because your time just hasn't come yet. But Saint Faustina Kowalska, the humble nun chosen by Christ to reveal his message of divine mercy, was told something far more mysterious and far more terrifying. She once asked Jesus why some souls were taken early while others lived far beyond their strength. And his answer, written in her diary, was this: "Those who live long are kept on earth for a divine reason, to save others." You see, every extra day, every extra year after 60 is not an accident. It is a mission, a sacred assignment that heaven has placed upon your shoulders, whether you realize it or not. Maybe you were supposed to die years ago, but God delayed it. Why? Because someone you love still needs your prayer. Because a soul in danger of eternal loss still depends on your hidden suffering. Because there are mercies he wants to pour through you before your time is done. In Faustina's vision, the Lord called these souls the quiet flames of mercy, people who burn slowly and silently, yet light the way for others to return home. And perhaps you are one of them. So if you are still breathing, still walking, still waking up to see another sunrise, it's not because heaven forgot you. It's because heaven is still using you. The question is not why you are still alive, but what God still wants to do through your life before you go home. Because for some souls, the final chapter is not a slow fading. It's the most powerful mission of all. Saint Faustina often wrote that before God spoke, there was silence. A silence that felt almost sacred, like the air itself was holding its breath. Imagine her in the convent chapel late at night, the light of a single candle flickering beside the tabernacle, her face pale from illness, her body weak from fasting, yet her heart completely awake. That silence was not emptiness, it was expectation. It was the stillness before the voice of God. For many who have lived past 60, life begins to sound the same. The laughter fades, the house quiets, and days seem to stretch into long hours of waiting. The world may look at you and say your best years are gone, but in God's eyes, this silence is holy ground, the same kind that surrounded Faustina before revelation came. Because when the noise of youth fades, the soul finally begins to hear. It is in the hush of aging that heaven often speaks the loudest. Faustina's stillness became the place where Jesus could whisper eternity. And in your stillness, in your mornings that seem uneventful, in your quiet evenings that feel forgotten, he is speaking too. Not with thunder or lightning, but with that same gentle invitation. Come closer. I still have something for you to do. You may think your life has slowed down, but in truth, heaven has simply turned down the volume of the world so you can finally hear your mission. So don't despise the silence. Within it, God hides his most personal words. The ache of loneliness, the quiet house, the sleepless nights. These are not signs of abandonment, but proof that he has drawn you apart for something eternal. The silence is not the end of your story. It's where your true calling begins. One evening, while praying before the Blessed Sacrament, Saint Faustina dared to ask a question that had troubled her heart. Why do you, Lord, allow some souls to suffer and live so long when others you call home so quickly? She wrote that she trembled as she waited, unsure if heaven would answer. Then in the stillness she heard his voice, clear, tender, and full of power. Jesus said to her, I delay their death because there are souls who depend on their prayers and suffering. I extend their life that mercy may flow through them. Faustina understood instantly. This delay is not a punishment, but a mission. Every added day is a tool of grace in the hands of God. The Lord keeps certain souls on earth not because he's forgotten them, but because he is using them to hold back darkness. In her diary, she saw visions of elderly and suffering souls whose pain was being transformed into light, a hidden fire that saved others from despair. Some of them prayed without realizing their power. Others simply endured, whispering, "Jesus, I trust in you," through tears. Yet heaven saw each one as a living sacrifice. And then came a line that would change the way she saw human suffering forever. "The greater the weakness, the more my mercy can work." In the world's eyes, weakness is failure. But in God's eyes, it is the space where His power lives, the trembling hands that still fold in prayer, the weary voice that still calls His name, the heart that still hopes, even when everything else fades. These are the vessels of His divine mercy. So if your body feels tired, if every day feels like one more battle, know this: you are not being left behind. You are being entrusted. You are carrying something invisible but infinite, the mercy of God flowing through your pain into the lives of others. Saint Faustina learned that a single soul who offers suffering with love can save more people than a preacher who fills a stadium. Because the silent suffering united to the cross has a voice that echoes all the way to heaven. Saint Faustina called them the hidden apostles of mercy. They are not seen on television. They do not preach from pulpits or travel across nations. Most of them are sitting quietly in their homes, in nursing beds, or in chapels where no one notices them. Yet heaven watches them closely. These are the souls who, through their quiet prayers and patient endurance, are holding up the world. Faustina once wrote that Jesus allowed her to see souls who were being saved in their final moments. Men and women on the verge of despair, suddenly flooded with peace. When she asked who had prayed for them, the Lord showed her simple elderly souls offering their daily pains with love. One old man who prayed the rosary every morning for his family. A widow who whispered, "Jesus, I trust in you," through her tears. A grandmother who, though bedridden, offered her sleepless nights for her wayward son. They were ordinary people with extraordinary missions. They didn't even know the power they held. In the eyes of the world, they were forgotten. In the eyes of God, they were warriors. Their weakness was their weapon, their loneliness their altar, their faith their fire. Faustina understood that as the body declines, the spirit becomes sharper, like a blade refined by fire. When strength fades, God begins to do His greatest work. The soul that can no longer move still has the power to move heaven through prayer. Every ache, every sigh, every moment you choose to trust instead of complain becomes a seed of salvation planted in eternity. These hidden apostles do not leave behind monuments or fame. They leave behind souls rescued by love. So if you find yourself wondering what use your life still has, remember this: you may be the unseen answer to someone else's desperate prayer. Your hidden offering may be the bridge between a sinner and God's mercy. Heaven does not measure greatness by what we achieve, but by how much we love, especially when no one is watching. You are not waiting to die. You are living the most powerful chapter of your mission. Saint Faustina once wrote that the greatest war ever fought is the one that no one sees, the war inside the soul. And for many who have lived beyond 60, this war becomes more intense. The enemy knows that time is short, and he uses his oldest weapon, despair. He whispers quietly into aging hearts, "You are forgotten. You are useless. Your prayers don't matter." It is the same lie he spoke in the garden, that God no longer cares. And yet it is this lie that every saint has had to confront before glory. Faustina saw this spiritual battle in vision after vision. She described elderly souls standing at the edge of faith, tempted to believe their life no longer had value. But those who turned to Jesus in that moment, those who whispered, even through pain, "I trust in you," became like blazing lights in the darkness. The devil, she said, cannot endure the prayer of a suffering soul who still loves. Your battle may not be with the world anymore. It is within, the struggle to keep believing that your life still has meaning, even when you can no longer see the fruits of it. But this is the battlefield where saints are made. Do not think for a second that your weakness disqualifies you. It terrifies hell, because when the frail keep trusting, when the tired keep praying, when the forgotten keep loving, grace floods the world like a tide the devil cannot stop. Every time you reject despair, you defeat him. Every time you pray through your pain, you rescue someone else from his grasp. You may not see the souls you're saving, but in heaven, each act of faith becomes a victory shout that echoes for eternity. You are not losing your fight. You are winning heaven's greatest war. St. Faustina once called it the mercy of time. She saw that when God allows a soul to live beyond its expected years, it is not chance. It is an act of love. Jesus told her that this delay, this stretch of life that seems ordinary or even burdensome, is often a deliberate act of mercy. I leave some souls longer, he said, because their mission is not yet complete. Think about that for a moment. What if your long life is not an accident but an assignment? What if the reason you're still here is because heaven has entrusted you with souls who cannot pray for themselves? Faustina described how some souls were kept on earth so that mercy could still pass through them to others. Their suffering, their patience, their prayers, all became channels through which grace flowed into the lives of those they loved. Sometimes it was a son who had abandoned faith, a daughter trapped in sin, or even strangers God wished to save through their offering. Perhaps that is why your heart still beats today. Perhaps someone in your family, a child, a grandchild, still needs your intercession. Perhaps your simple morning prayer, said with weary lips, is shielding them from a spiritual disaster they will never even know about. God could take you home at any moment, but he hasn't. Why? Because he is still writing his mercy story through you. Every breath is another sentence of grace. Every heartbeat is heaven saying, "Not yet. There is still someone to save." And maybe one day in eternity, you'll meet that soul, the one who was spared because of your suffering, your patience, your prayers. They will run to you in radiant joy, saying, "It was you. You prayed me home." St. Faustina taught that nothing offered in love is ever wasted. Every second of your life still has eternal weight. So when you wake up tomorrow, don't think, "I'm still alive by chance." Think instead, "Heaven has given me one more day to change eternity." The divine delay is not a pause. It's a purpose. It means God still trusts you to be his instrument of mercy. St. Faustina recorded one of the most beautiful promises ever spoken by Jesus. When a soul unites its suffering to mine, it draws down more grace upon the world than many acts of preaching. Those words became the beating heart of her mission, and they are meant for you too. The Lord revealed that the soul who offers every pain, every limitation, every act of patience for others becomes a living vessel of mercy. The world may not notice it, but heaven does. Faustina saw that some souls shine brighter in heaven, not because they did great deeds, but because they suffered with great love. These were the ones who turned their illnesses into prayers, their loneliness into intercession, their fear into trust. Jesus showed her that such souls bring light to the darkest corners of the earth. And then he gave a promise that should fill every weary heart with hope. No act of trust is ever lost. Those who trust in my mercy will not be abandoned, nor will their families be lost. Imagine that. Your whispered prayer, your tears offered for your children or grandchildren, your acceptance of another sleepless night. All of it is gathered in God's hands. None of it disappears. Each act of trust becomes a seed of grace, falling somewhere you may never see, but where it will one day bloom. So if you feel forgotten, remember, you are not just enduring time, you are shaping eternity. Your faith is fighting for souls. Your quiet suffering is producing miracles far beyond your sight. When Jesus showed Faustina the power of redemptive suffering, she saw that even the weakest person can become a wellspring of salvation. You don't need strength to be useful. You need surrender. Your pain, when joined with His, becomes prayer. Your prayer becomes mercy. And mercy changes everything. There comes a sacred moment when everything begins to make sense, when you finally see that nothing in your life has been wasted. Every joy, every loss, every ache, and every waiting season were threads in a divine tapestry woven by merciful hands. St. Faustina called this moment the illumination of meaning. It is when the soul realizes that what once felt like silence was actually God whispering purpose. Maybe you are beginning to feel it even now, that gentle stirring in your heart, that sudden thought that your story isn't over. That's not imagination. That's heaven reminding you that you are still part of God's plan. Faustina often said that awareness of God's mercy transforms ordinary moments into eternal ones. When she finally understood her mission, she stopped asking why and began saying, "Thank you." The same can happen to you. The years behind you, even the painful ones, were not random. They were training, shaping your soul into a living prayer. Think about it. All the people you've loved, the tears you've shed, the forgiveness you've given. These are treasures that time cannot erase. They have become the language your soul speaks to God. So if you are still alive, it means heaven still calls your name each morning. It means someone somewhere still needs the grace that flows through your prayers. It means your heart is still a bridge between mercy and the world. Tonight, when you close your eyes, don't ask for the reason you're still here. Whisper instead the same prayer that Faustina wrote with her final breath, "Jesus, I trust in you." And in that trust, you'll realize the truth. You are living proof that mercy never runs out. And now you understand. Your life has never been random. You are still here because heaven still has a mission for you. St. Faustina's message is not a story about the past. It's a mirror held before your soul today. Every breath you take is God's whisper saying, "I am not finished with you yet." When you wake each morning, you stand in the center of mercy's greatest mystery, that God chooses the weak to reveal His strength, the forgotten to pour out His love, and the weary to rescue souls. Your prayers, your hidden sufferings, your patience, these are not small things. They are the quiet heartbeat of heaven's plan for the world. So live these remaining years with awe, not fear. You are walking on holy ground. Each day you forgive, each pain you offer, each sigh of trust becomes a doorway of grace for someone else. And when your final hour arrives, you will see what your prayers have done. The faces of those who were saved because you said yes to one more day. Then Jesus will look into your eyes and say, "Well done, my faithful servant. You finished the work of mercy I gave you." Don't let this message stop with you. Share it. Let someone else discover that their life, no matter their age or weakness, is still burning with divine purpose. Because if you're still alive, heaven still needs you.